Well, hello there. This is Jamie Lewis, and we're going to talk about domain attributes. Okay, so when it comes to domains, we're looking for two-word domains. That's like, the two words is basically word, adjective, noun, to verb, noun. You get the drift. Okay, so two words. Now they have to be an actual thing. Okay, that would be colored pencils. Okay, colored pencils. Remember, adjective, noun, right? But money behind it. Whoops. Pencils, no money behind it. So you gotta be like playing poker. Like it's a hand of cards. If you have a perfect hand, that's what if all these things check out. All right. So okay, two words, check. Actual thing. Like I'll give you an example. Musicproduction.net. All right. Wow. That's noun verb. Two words, check. Actual thing, check. Money behind it, check. No misspellings, check. No dashes, check. No numbers either. .net or .org. I mean, if you can find the .com, you're probably not though. It probably won't be able to find the .com. So that's why we're always concentrating on we're going to settle for .nets and .org. No one has .coms. No one lets .coms drop. And if they do, grab it, right? If it checks out, I mean, I'm not saying don't get a .com. .com is worth 10 times as much as the .net or .org, same words. You guys see what I mean? All right. Next up, let's talk about the features of GoDaddy, right? So, um, basically, when you come here to this interface here at GoDaddy.com, this is what I use to buy all my domains, right? You click on these three lines here, all right? And then you click on domains. Now it gives you all of these different ways to find domains, right? And what I like to do is use this bulk domain search, okay? Now before we get into expired domains, I just do want to cover this really quick because this is fun, it works, and it can be sometimes even easier. Looking through a drop list of expired domains sometimes can drive you nuts. Why not have some fun, right, while you're at it? So as you can see here, this is a great example. I actually didn't know that this was going to pop up, but this was an actual example of a search that I did where I was looking for brand names. And so this is the idea is, you have your main word and you're like, oh, I want to do agency, right? So I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, I need domain ideas for the word agency. So, and then give it an example. Like I want agency pilot, agency rocket, agency machine. And ChatGPT will bust out you a whole ton of ideas. But these aren't expired domains. We'll get into that in a separate video where there's some perks that you might not have heard of from purchasing expired domains, especially if you want to flip that domain right away without hardly doing anything. All right, so we're going to get to that. But first, this is something I have to be honest with you. I do this a lot, especially to find brand names. You can go through an expired drop list and do a search for the word agency. You might find some pretty cool ones. I recommend that too if you're looking for brand names. But this is basically what I do. I type in to ChatGPT nowadays exactly what I told you. Hey, I'm looking for the word agency. It's something next to it. But back in the day, before I had ChatGPT, I would have gone like this. All right, I would have gone like that a million times, and then I would have thought to myself like agency book, agency software, agency, see what I mean? So you can kind of scour the net manually, and you can also do it on your phone, like while you're waiting for your oil change or whatever. It's quite fun. I mean, we play word games. That's pretty much all that is. You can also do like, you know, popular names when they first come out, like trending. We did that with crypto, and we did that with when new coins came out and stuff. All right. So that's what we call hand registering domains. All right. So when you hear us say hand reg, that's what that means is we are basically searching using our hands. We're not using anything else except the GoDaddy interface. So once you purchase your domains, then inside you're going to click on my products, and then there's a lot of products. So you click here on the in the corner, it has these 9 little dots and quick links, domains. So we're going to look at our domain portfolio. And again, this is what makes it so simple. You're like, hey, I want to sell this. You click on it right there next to it, and this little pop-up box comes up on the bottom, right? Look at that right there. List for sale, right? So we click on list for sale, and then we put in our buy it now price. And one thing about appraisals, GoDaddy, no offense to them, but their appraisal service is a little bit bloviated or something, for lack of a better word. Like, it's a little exaggerated, I guess, because they're wanting you to buy everything on there. I'm not saying they're being misleading. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think NFTgrabber.com is very worth much. I bought it as a brand name back when NFTs were hot. Estimated value $2,400. I don't freaking think so. But again, if it's a brand name and it's something you're developing on, you might not want to sell it, right? My typical advice to this, and again, when we get into expired domains, I will talk a little bit more about this, and we would talk in a separate video about appraisals and evaluating how much a domain is worth. But typically, I like to sell at a wholesale price, even if I'm driving traffic from YouTube to my domain portfolio, to sell domains using YouTube. I still, especially in that case, will make it very, very discounted, so that the buyer of the domain is saying to himself, well, heck, I got it at a good deal. I got it in it's like crypto or stocks, my in price that, I got into this it was a steal, and I can resell it if I need to. It's a good investment. All right. So that's why if it's worth, and I wouldn't take this really, take it with a grain of salt or whatever, to $2,400. But say if NFT Grabber was worth $500, I would sell it for $100. I'm serious, a couple $100. And those are the prices that we're usually going to sell most of our domains for, anywhere from $200 to $700. Sometimes they sell, depending on if you have a brand new software that scoured the net and found all of these needles in haystacks, which has happened to us. You hand register domains and they're listed with Afternic and sell within hours. We've seen stuff like that happen, but that's not going to really continue because I know me and my students, people hate us because we do find all the good ones. So that's pretty much what you do. You type in your price and then you click on publish listing. And when you publish your listing, it's going to come out on the Afternic marketplace. GoDaddy had partnered with Afternic. And so now that's pretty much that's what makes this business model so simple. All right. So let's jump into expired domains next, and I'm going to show you the old way to do it using Estibot, and then going through a drop list, and then I'm going to show you the architecture of it and everything. And then we'll talk about appraisals. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. Estibot. So Estibot appraisals for domaining are much, much more trusted and more intelligent. They're based on really good attributes, like how much traffic the domain or the keyword gets, what's the value of the products that are being sold, like for instance the CPC and all the Google stats. And so Estibot is great at valuing domains, but sometimes they do you dirty. It's a robot, so it's not going to get things perfect. Okay. So basically, the reason why we've always used Estibot is when you come into Estibot and you click on dashboard, then it's going to give you a bunch of different things you can use. So 90% of the time, I only use Estibot for this. So I'll come here to click on expired domains, and then I'll download this drop list, right? Available. So it comes in a zip file. You open up the zip file, double click on it, and then you get an Excel file. And so then you can come to Google Sheets, all right? And you can open up a blank spreadsheet and then go to File and then Import, right? and click on upload. So when you click on upload, then you can drag a file directly into this box here. I don't know. Can you guys see the box? I hope so. All right. So I'm uploading this file. Yeah, you can see that. All right. So we go import data. And it might say, do you want to replace the file or whatever? That's fine. Replace the sheet. Oh, it already did. All right, here it is. Bam. Now, when you look at it right now, it's going by alphabetical order, which is kind of not really what we want. And look, these appraisals here are all, there's 100,000 domains in here. So you're going to have to, like, without sorting it, it's just a nightmare. Look at all of this garbage, most of it. It is just 000 appraisals, and it's just horrible, right? You guys see that? Terrible. So, what we want to do, and this is what our software just does automatically. You click on data. Well, first of all, you click on what you want to sort. Click on this here, this right here where you see the numbers. And then you click on data and you go to sort sheet and then go Z to A. Now what it does is it sorts it by appraisals rather than the alphabetical order. Now why is that good? Well, it definitely helps, doesn't it? Now we're going to have a little bit better of a readout here. Now this is basically like when I create all of the software and stuff to help me, that's basically what the software is doing, with a couple other things that it's doing too, using AI now. But if you don't buy things, and I recommend, hey, you could do this. The only thing, you could have a business where you're just buying the domains. Like there's really no other expenses. You're just flipping domains, right? So this is how we did it in the old days. We would sort it, and then here at the top it says pantyhose.co.uk. Estimated value is $49,000. Done by Estibot, not GoDaddy. We can see why. That is a killer domain. It's probably taken though. I don't know. Did you guys check this? Everyone else is seeing this spreadsheet. We're not the only customer at Estibot, right? So when these spreadsheets come out every day, people are going to buy them. So the ones at the top, they're probably going to sell right away, even before the drop list came out. All right, they're purchased like in the waiting period. They're so freaking good. So what we're doing is we're basically look through this list, and even though these Estibot is appraising them really high, it's still better than it was before we sorted it. But look, supply chain dot management, very interesting. And remember, not a .net or a .org, but the words are so good. Supply chain. I mean, come on. That's freaking amazing word. So it's like the hand of cards. The extension might not be very good. So if you had some weird obscure words and wasn't like supply chain, two words, actual thing, tons of money behind it, and tons of traffic behind it. Did I mention that? Right? So that's what we're doing, right? Is you're going to find all sorts of good ones. Some of them won't be .net. Some of them like ca.info. Info stinks, but it's CA. It's two words. So you're going to find some really killer domains this way, right? But again, you have to sort it, and it's still not like every domain you're going to want. You know what I mean? But sometimes things pop out at you, and when they pop out at you, they're popping out at other people who are looking through this drop list that have Estibot memberships. And that's why you want to register it. If you can find it, there's an expired domain that's available, and you register it and you click on list for sale and you make it $200, that's how they sell without you doing anything. Is someone else on Estibot saw it. So you're getting a lot of eyeballs on these right now. It's a funny thing, right? It's a funny phenomenon how you can come in here and it's like a free for all. It's like, survival of the fittest, right? The early bird catch the worm. And so grab these grab a good domain that pops out at you. And it's carwashes.co.uk jumped out at me. So that's why the appraisals sometimes aren't so good. How come, up here, these are 26,000, 23,000, Dell Mini. Well, guess what? Dell is a trademark. So I would never buy that domain, even though it's 2,600. All right. Use your common sense here, supply chain.management. That is really good. General.hospital. I don't know. Is that a trademark as well, right? MLMsoftware.co.uk. Geez, that pops out at me, right? So yeah, a lot of these are good. Dedicated dot systems, payback.net. Um, you know what I mean? Like very, very good. But again, follow the curriculum, which is get two words that mean something that's spelled correctly. There's money behind it. And with the money behind it thing, it's traffic, traffic and monetization behind it, right? So, I mean, if you look at crotchlessunderwear.com, that's a good one. That's an actual thing, and there's money and traffic behind it, $3,600. So, that's pretty much how you would look through an expired drop list. You sort it, and then remember the ones that pop out at you, they're going to pop out at other people. You register it, and then you can possibly sell it. Carinsurancedeals.com. Oh my gosh, wait, let me see here. Carinsurancedealers.com. Wow, that's pretty cool. Compare misspelling, I think. So try to stay away from misspellings. I did sell vegetarian.com, I think. It was misspelled. Sold it for $700. So I have to say I have sold misspelled domains before. Automatically, never met the customer, never did any, really heavy promotion on site. It wasn't on Flippa either. It was directly from, it was on GoDaddy premiums before they partnered with Afternic, and the traffic came from YouTube, from a YouTube video I made showing my inside of my GoDaddy account. Homelistings.info. Okay, good, right? Look, cheerleading misspelled.com. Okay. So you're going to find a lot if you sort it that way. All right. So next, let's talk about appraisals in the next video. All right. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one. All right. So guys, let's talk something very, very important, which is appraisals. Okay. How to appraise a domain. And so there are different ways of doing that. The first way is Estibot appraisals. And that is through estibot.com. Of course, there's other companies. There's a domaindata.com. There's, all these different companies, Namecheap, GoDaddy, they all have their ways of appraising. And then also you can ask ChatGPT, etc. But robots are not good at this, okay? And you can see also in Estibot, like when you click on an appraisal here, like you can go to you go to the appraiser, okay? And where is that? There it is. So when you click on the appraiser, you could go bigmoney.com, okay? And then it'll tell you it's worth $54,000. But here's the problem. It's getting its main data from comparable domain sales. So why can't you do that? A robot isn't very good at doing that, but you might be very good at that. So why don't you do that? For instance, ccapital.com. What does that mean? That sounds like a brand name. That sounds like a company. Why did it throw that in there? What is it? Looking for other domains that sold for what the heck is going on here? More money, I get it, right? So you did big money. That's how you would do comparable sales yourself, is by, let's swap out this word, big, okay? Obviously, I think this is the money right there. Like, wow, literally. And so now this is a noun, and then so this is an adjective. So we want to find other adjectives. That is an adjective, right? You should tell. Drop out of school, started doing internet marketing and domaining. So anyway, obviously large money, awesome money, except, you get the drift, right? So big is a pretty awesome word. It's 3 letters. You get the drift. It's huge authority. But if you feel that Estibot did you dirty and your domain is good because you're smart, then you can do searches with using Estibot or just straight on Google, or you can put this input, give ChatGPT this input. You can say, hey, I want to find comparable sales for bigmoney.com. It should be the word money, but then there's different adjectives instead of big. ChatGPT would do a great job at that. So you find the actual sales that, for domains, what they sold for, and say it gave, you're like, I love big money. Why is it saying it's only appraised at $1,000? That's not right. Well, it really wasn't right, because you can then do your own comparable searching, and you find, like, for instance, fastmoney.com sold for $400,000. And so when you go to sell your domain, if you were to go to flippa.com and sell your domain there, guess what? You're going to be able to say in your little listing there, or any other marketplace really for that matter, you can say, hey, comparable sales are fastmoney.com sold for 400 grand. This money.com sold for 300 grand. This money.com sold for 100 grand. So now that's going to help you sell it for a little more than $1,000. Maybe now you can sell it for you, but we got this one, bigmoney.com. That's going to all of a sudden help you. That's even better than an appraisal. So if you can go like the extra mile, but you can also say, hey, Estibot, it's kind of like the standard. Estibot is the standard. So if you advertise, hey, I've got Estibot appraisals, people will trust that a little bit more than if you were to be like, hey, I got GoDaddy appraisals. Everyone knows GoDaddy's trying to sell you something, right? At least Estibot is a little bit smarter and uses, Google. They have a Google API where they're looking at the search terms and the Alexa rank, and then I guess they have the Alexa API too. They got a type-in score. They got search volume. This is mainly driven by the Google API, very similar to the softwares we create. Monthly searches 200,000. Cost per click. This is traffic and monetization. All right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video, is the appraisals, and those are the different methods of appraising your domain. Okay. All right. So, and remember, again, appraisals are done by a robot, usually with, either Estibot or GoDaddy, or if you use ChatGPT, etc. Comparable is when you kind of jump in there and you have the human touch and you're making your own decisions and just creative problem solving and stuff. So that's why it is a good idea for you guys to start thinking that way. All right, when appraising. All right, so this was the video on how to appraise your domains. See you in the next one. All right, so you guys here are learning how to do content too, right? You kind of start recording for an hour and you just keep doing that over and over again, and then you edit out. Right now, me talking like this, I'm going to edit that out, right? And then I have a whole bunch of content I can upload to my studio app that I'm doing. So that's how to that's how to appraise. All right. All right, guys. So now we're going to talk about Flippa.com, which is kind of like a social network and a domain sales marketplace fused together, which is quite cool. Now, admittedly, I use Flippa to sell websites. I don't come on here and sell my domains on here. All those, hundreds of domains I've sold, I do that primarily with GoDaddy. But Flippa can be interesting. If you have a really amazing domain, I've had some students who consulted with me and they sold great domains on here. But when I come on here, I sell websites, and I've done over $400,000 on here, and as you can see there, and I've been a member since 2007 when I started flipping my ClickBank sites. I still have my account and everything, and I used it maybe a year ago or something to sell a couple mini sites, which is quite cool, and that's something I kind of want to talk to you about. Yeah, let's start with that. Oh, well, obviously, how did I sell a site for $238,000? How did I sell a site for $180,000? And note that a couple of these were sold on eBay as well. I've got another 500,000 on there. But I've also sold sites for 10,000, 70,000, 50,000, all on Flippa. And how do you do that? Well, those sites were actual builds, and they actually had traffic and sales. So you're really at that point selling it as a business. You multiply it by about 12 to 15 months of how much it makes a month. So if it makes 100,000 a month, you can sell it for 1.5 million. If you were to, I would probably find a broker to do that. Just a quick note, because I don't want to talk about site selling. We're getting a little bit, business selling, we're getting a little bit off topic, but when you sell whole businesses, you can get more for your, if you go with a broker, but at that point, some certain things matter. If it is all branded with your face, like for instance, if I did jamielewis.com or something like that, you're probably going to have trouble selling that because no one else would want to own jamielewis.com. They'd be like, well, I don't think this business is going to do well without you, buddy. Like, I can't really sell this business that you guys bought, like, where I'm doing webinars. Who would do the webinars? Like, so if I have videos on my site that say, um, hey, I'm going to coach you one-on-one, come to my webinars every day, those sites probably wouldn't sell because it's like, well, you're selling a service or something like that that is really branded with your name. But so the sites that I've sold were really digital products. All right. So step one, buy a domain, a brand name, really cool brand name. It doesn't matter so much when you're planning on making a lot of money with the site. So you start selling it. It does $20,000 profit every month. You put it on Flippa and sell it for 200 grand or something. You see what I mean? So digital products, digital delivery, that works the best. Also, something else to keep in mind is if the revenue is very stable and very consistent and very autopilot and there's nothing for you to do, 15 months, right? 16 months, maybe even more. If it's dying and it's had a couple bad months, 6 months. All right. Be honest with people, and you get a chance to write your listing with Flippa too, because it's like a social media site as well, and you can message people and all that stuff. Um, just be honest with people and be like, look, this site is dying. It's dope, but I don't have time to work it. So I need a new owner. I mean, that's honest. And people be like, oh, okay, cool. And they might have questions for you. They'd be like, yeah, I'll revive it. I got some ideas. Like, so if it's a really great site, sometimes you could sell a site that doesn't make money, right? A site that you worked really hard on and you developed the software for it and it's all set up. It could sell for 20 grand or 30 grand or something. People pay me for building SaaS products, and that's because they know I'm going to do a funnel for it. I'm going to do the software. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's that. Those are the big ones, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. That's usually how you get sales like that. Now, if you want to sell a $1,500 one, this is what happens with that. Say you buy a domain, your virtual assistant goes to Code Canyon and installs something and for that domain. Like I had like worldclock.net or something like that. So I went to my programmer. I was like, hey man, can you add a world clock to this to this domain? So you just develop real quick on it, just a little widget or something. All right, get a page up, have a little gimmick there, like a little widget or something like that. Put it on Flippa, $1,500, buy it now button, and the reserve, it's like an auction. Okay. I like doing auctions on Flippa. I don't like doing auctions on GoDaddy. Okay. So you set up the auction, you have a reserve of like how that's the minimum that if you get a couple bidders and it reaches the reserve, so it's a $1,500 buy it now, $600 reserve, you might be selling it for $600. You see what I mean? So, when I do these mini site sales, and it's like 100% sell. You can look at my profile. We did that like a year ago, 2 years ago or something. And we'd put up like 4 of them. And I think I did it on a webinar, did it on a webinar with my students. And what happens every time is the $1,500, no one gets it for the buy it now. Once the auction is over a month later, you get a whole bunch of messages with them haggling you saying they want to buy it for 400 or 500. So here you've bought a domain for $10, you've developed on it, and it sells for 500 or 600 bucks because you know they saw the 1500, they know you didn't want to sell it for less, but now they're going to try to get it for less because it didn't sell. They wait for that moment where they're like, hey, your domain didn't sell, you were selling it for too much, I think it's worth only 400. I'm like, all right, great, you want to pick it up for 400, and they buy it from you. So here it is. That is a way, and that's what I'm going to get into in the next video, are the 3 different methods of selling, 3 or 4. And that's the beauty of Flippa, is you can either sell a mini site or an established site. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. All right, so moving down the line, now I wanted to do a quick kind of visual for you guys here, which is, we look at it like this, okay? These are the 4 different ways of selling a domain. And just you know, I'll just abbreviate this. I'm not going to, spelling with this is tough, but the first one that we talked about is you buy an expired domain, and then this is stage 1. Okay, so you buy an expired domain, and then you I don't know about my spelling. All right, so and then after you buy the expired domain, then you list it for sale, and then you wait 72 hours. So if it really was good and it popped out at you, it might be popping out at other people who are looking through the drop list. So at that point, it doesn't sell for 72 hours, you don't make your 200 bucks, then you go to stage 2. This is when you can make the price better. You can up it to 700 or something. I mean, it has a $4,000 appraisal through Estibot or something, then you can do that. So then this step 1, step 2, step 3, and stage 2 would be, all right, you have the domain, raise the price, and then you create a YouTube video or a post on your Facebook fan page or your other social media, whatever, but it should be targeted towards domains. The channel should be only about domains. So you have a YouTube video showing your portfolio, and you don't need to be pushy. You don't even need to really say, hey, if you guys would like to buy this domain, let me know. You don't need to say anything like that. You don't need to sell. You don't need to be pushy. All you need to do is say, hey guys, I'm going to show you how to sell domains. I'm serious. You make a tutorial video. You say, I'm going to show you guys the inside of my GoDaddy account, my portfolio, etc. Number 1, the video is going to go crazy. Number 2, they're going to buy they're going to buy your domains from this tutorial for one reason. When you make this YouTube video, you say, I'm selling at wholesale. Okay? I'm selling this for 10% of what it's worth. Estibot appraises it at 4,000. Guys, I have it listed for, I have it for 500. All right. So again, it's not 100 or 200. You're not, you've gone past the idea of, I'm going to buy a domain from the drop list, and all these other people are looking through the drop list, and therefore it's going to sell for 200 bucks, 100 bucks, or 200 bucks, because they're like, oh, wow, that domain is great, I'm going to go see if it's available. And they see it's available for 100 or 200 bucks. It's not 800 bucks. So they might be like, all right, I'll grab it for 200 bucks and I'll resell it for 800. But again, if it doesn't work in 72 hours, then you raise the price, you make that YouTube video the walkthrough, and in that video, remember that you talk a lot about how, hey guys, I price my domains. Here's the secret to pricing your domains so they sell like crazy. Make it affordable for people, 10% of the Estibot value or the appraisal, because then your buyer can resell the domain if he feels like it's a great investment. It's going to sell like hotcakes. So you're explaining in a tutorial fashion, and the people watching this are like, oh crap, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy this domain and then resell it from this guy. You see what I mean? That's originally what I was doing, where I started having a lot of success. And then I found out about this, which I call the quick grabber. I found out about this quick grabber method from my students coming back to me and being like, James, I sold a domain for 800 bucks. Be like, what? Like you didn't do a YouTube video? No, man, I didn't do anything. I'm like, what? So that happened a couple times until we started figuring it out. And that's a true story. The first one was 800, but we found that, you know, better chance for 100 or 200. And I know people are hurting out there and they could use their first sale, you know, prove it to the spouse that, you know, their little side gig at night, you know, honey, what are you working on? I'm on a marketing webinar. And then the wife is like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this guy? He hasn't made money with it yet. Getting your first sale for $200 can mean a lot, you know? So that's one of the easiest ways to do it. You didn't even do anything, but you got to be a good judge of the domain. Remember, follow those attributes. So the third stage to this is what we were just talking about in the other video, Flippa. So if this doesn't work and you have domains, I remember you have a year before you got to pay for it again. Go to Flip. Well, first of all, you're going to develop on the domain. Take it off being sold on GoDaddy. Take it off. All right. You're not going to sell it on GoDaddy anymore. You're going to develop on it. All right. So create a little site for it, a little blog or something. Then go to Flippa. And then remember, you're going to do what I told you to do when we did the Flippa video, which is make it 1,500. And then at the end of the auction, that's when people will haggle you and they'll demand that they buy it for the wholesale price. Okay. So that's why I always tell people, I say, you're probably going to make money with these domaining methods, because if this doesn't work, then this will work. But if for some reason this doesn't work, and I mean, this kind of works, so every time, then this will really work. But you really don't want to do 3, because it's dealing with the people that haggle you. Like you say yes to 400, then they try to do 300, then you say no, 400, and you're messaging this person over and over again. And so that's why these are much more attractive up here and this one. All right. But again, this is stuff, it took us years and years to learn this stuff, and I hope that you guys do real good with it. All right. So thanks so much for watching. This is Jamie Lewis, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. So click on daily drops, and this is like a drop list. Now, I wanted to point this out to people. You have this here signal. Click on green. Okay. Orange, you find some good ones too. But again, this is helping you with sifting through all of that crap, man. You know what I'm saying? And also wait, I guess, maybe because we launched, all the greens are gone. No, it says 900. But remember, you have all of these different ways of sorting through this, right? Offices, desk, 2000. No, I still wouldn't do that. Hosting, music, as you can see, makeup tips, 1400. This is using the Estibot API, guys. So this is basically like an automatic drop list without you having to do that, you know, the Google Sheets and sorting it. It's sorting it for you, and then you have these options that where the AI is going to tell you what the hell it means. Okay, which is the first time we've ever had software that did that, and I've been making this type of software for a while. How to make website.com. Jesus. That's howmakewebsite.com. Not as good, but you get the drift. That was in the drop list. So invest your home, not bad, but still, I mean, I would really, smartphonetricks.com, that's pretty cool. It's all finding .coms. What happens if we do .nets, right? But before we do that, let's make sure that down here around this part, canvas art for sale, buywebsiteonline.com. Jesus. So you guys are going to be getting on this. I don't know if you guys are getting in on. So remember, follow those attributes. You'll see this panel solar system. Jesus. Sorry, I keep saying Jesus over it. You know, take the Lord's name in vain or whatnot. I don't think it's vain. I'm excited. I think Jesus would be excited that we're doing this. Registeranaccount.com. Jesus Christ. Holy mackerel, man. All right. So that's pretty much how to use it. I'm just not sure why green isn't coming up. I'm not doing a freaking tutorial anymore, so I don't care if there's mistakes. We could go to Webtricks and be like, bro, I'm on the webinar and there's no green, dude. What the heck, man? You know, and then I get my money's worth. Webtricks is good. Let me tell them that. Let me tell them that right now. But we're finding freaking gold mine domains though. Let me ask them if it's is there a problem with how it's showing? Hey, I'm on the webinar and we're finding awesome domains, even better than my drop. When we went through the drop list, it wasn't even freaking good. Remember that? There's crap on there. It's like all .co.uk and stuff. We're finding awesome domains, but it's all orange, man. So that's what I wanted to check before we jump into other shit. But yeah, cool stuff though, right? Houses in Cambridge. Registeranaccount.com. You guys can pick that up? Pick that shit up. That's freaking crazy, dude. All right. So look, man, TLD is where we're going to select this. All right. All right. There we go. Thank you, Webtricks, for making such an amazing software. Oh my God. Insomnio.net. Misspelling. Kristan.net is misspelling. Very interesting. It's up to you guys if you wanted to kind of, you're gambling there. I mean, like, I've sold vegetarian. Yeah, these are good. I see. He just said, yeah, let me check filter. Domains are all the best, all available. YouTube. I don't know if you get in trouble with this. YOO. Like, I don't know if that's a trademark issue, but yeah, guys. So that's the way to do this. And then, go to GoDaddy. Remember, list it for sale. And then you're going to do that for 72 hours until the drop list gets old. And then you're going to do raise the price, YouTube video, wholesale. All right. And that's how I've sold 100. I've freaking sold like, I remember there's one video on YouTube. I'll show you the video that sold all of them. It's so old that, I mean, you guys will see what is it, number one? I guess so. 10 years ago. Yeah. So I've been doing this a while. That's the good news. The bad news is it's outdated, right? So it's not called GoDaddy Premiums anymore. But as you'll see, look at all these comments, right? So this is a real video. I didn't boost it or anything. It ranked. It wasn't like, stupid Warrior Plus launch jacking crap either. I ranked videos for pretty good. I had internet marketing was number one at one point, or number three, and then it was at number 3 for like a year or something like that. That's probably my most profitable video I've ever made. But I've gotten a lot of views on YouTube, man. YouTube's my shit. But this video was horrible. Okay. Listen to the quality of this video on how to use GoDaddy premiums to make a whole boatload of money. All right. I mean, I sound like I'm half asleep, right? And so I just show my screen. I record my screen with Camtasia, and there's other ones. If you guys don't have money, you can, get a screen recorder. I don't know, your computer might have it built in at this point. I don't know. This got 75,000 views, and every domain in here sold from the video. So, again, you do GoDaddy, how to sell domains with GoDaddy premiums. I wrote that 10 years ago. I didn't change anything. I didn't edit anything except this. I edited this a bunch of times. Some of my videos, like I'll put links here sometimes that go to a traffic rotator that I sell. So it's like, these constant, they get constant traffic and then people click on these links down here. But that's not how I sold the domains. People would just go to GoDaddy and search the domains. They just go to GoDaddy and search them. And then it would come up as like, yep, it's available, but for $700, right? So, and that was because it was appraised at $5,000 or something. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a little bit of the illustration on that. And at this point, let me take some questions and everything and see if you guys, if you guys are retaining this information. It's quite good, I think, this information. But tonight is all about us working with you guys. And so for the next 20 minutes or so, we'll answer your questions or look at your domains. And if you guys are just here for the learning experience, that's totally fine. Sometimes we hear crickets in the questions box, and therefore I'll go to Daniel and I'll say, hey, Daniel, I'm bored. No one's talking. Talk to me. And then he'll tell me about, how he, mined a crypto coin like helium or something and had a problem with the, I remember one time he had to get elevation. It wasn't working. A little antenna for his miner wasn't working. So he had to get elevation. He had to put it on the rooftop or something. And I wondered how he got up on the roof. Well, yeah, Daniel, tell us about that so I don't look like a liar while we wait for people to type.
Actually, the funny thing was, I'm on the 4th floor, which is the top floor of my building. Right above my head is towers for Rogers Media, Cogeco. These are the big cell phone and whatever wireless providers. So local towers are right on the roof, right above my head. So what I did was it was a helium miner, and I basically put it on my windowsill. The problem was though, the whole thing, by the time my miner came in, everything was growing up all around me. So I only had a very small slice of the pie. And then the idiots that ran the company, they said, well, we're going to do it this way anymore. We're now going to go on to 5G, and basically left me in the dust. So it's a bit of a crooked deal how that worked. Anyway, on a more positive note, as you know, I made my own TikTok/YouTube video.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
Crypto Girl started doing it again too, man.
I worked. My method was I started by talking it out with Bilbo, my 24/7 virtual assistant, who lives within the harness of OpenClaw, and talked about how we were going to do this. And I thought, well, I've got a subscription to abacus.ai, and I'll just go in and cut up this video from Jamie explaining everything, and I'll take the pieces I want and I'll tell it to string it together. And it pretty much did that